Well, Europe is pushing back against the U.S. pressure to take control of Greenland from Denmark. President Trump threatening to impose new 10% tariffs against 8 European nations that have rallied around Denmark. European Union officials say the EU is considering countermeasures to the proposed tariffs. At a news conference this morning, President Trump repeated his claim that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security. He would not rule out the use of force, but hinted at a possible compromise.
I think that we will work something out where NATO is going to be very happy and where we're going to be very happy. But we need it for security purposes.
The European Union and the United States have agreed to a trade deal last July. And in politics, as in business, a deal is a deal.
The EU said its response to the threatened tariffs would be proportional, with France suggesting that Europe could even hit the U.S. with sanctions.
Okay, for more, we're joined now live by Stephen Zunes, professor of politics and international studies at the University of San Francisco. Professor, we always appreciate you taking the time. President Trump asked today how far he was willing to go to acquire Greenland, and he said, "You'll find out." But by the same token, he also is suggesting that he is going to work something out, in his words, that would make NATO happy on the issue of Greenland. Does it appear to you as though the president may be moving toward some sort of an agreement to take over Greenland?
Not necessarily. I mean, as long as he keeps insisting that Greenland must belong to the United States, I think we should be concerned that he is going to take, whatever measures he deems as necessary. But the pushback is pretty strong from the Europeans, and as a result, the impact with the financial community in this country and elsewhere is pretty strong as well. I mean, just for example, the S&P index has dropped by more than twice the entire estimated value of Greenland's mineral resources alone, just in the past 24 hours, given the concern about possible tariff wars and other implications. So it is possible that, well, I think Trump is still serious right now, that he, at least his advisors, will recognize there are some pretty serious implications if he keeps going this route, and that indeed could soften his position.
So, Professor, Finland's leader said that he expects to defuse the Greenland issue by the week's end. How can European leaders, who we all know will be gathering in Davos, Switzerland, defuse the situation surrounding Greenland?
Well, for a long time, the Europeans, while disturbed at some of Trump's positions on Ukraine and other issues, have tried to flatter him, have tried to suggest compromise, recognizing that for better or worse, they're very dependent on the United States in terms of support for NATO and other things. But this Greenland issue, I mean, threatening the territorial sovereignty of a NATO member, I mean, that really is crossing the line, and I think we're going to see a real pushback, that stronger kind of opposition, saying, hey, there are consequences. I mean, even Canadian Prime Minister Carney, I mean, Canada has been particularly deferential to U.S. Concerns in recent decades, but his speech in Davos yesterday was pretty hard-hitting, saying, look, we are, we've been played along in some of these issues because we know it's strategically necessary, but this is really going too far. And we really are willing to strike out on our own and are willing to say no.
Yeah, and speaking of the World Economic Forum in Davos right now, Governor Newsom is there, and he had some forceful comments here about the president's escalating rhetoric when it comes to Greenland. Governor Newsom, and he took issue with the response we've seen so far from European leaders. He urged them to stand up to President Trump and to stop with diplomacy and niceties. How do you think that is going to land with European leaders? Comments like those, do you think it will lead to sort of a tougher stance on President Trump when it comes to Greenland?
I think having an important American political figure, be that blunt, particularly one who is a governor of a state that is, if it was an independent country, would be the 5th largest economy in the world, is something they are going to have to listen to. It also gives them a little bit of political cover. I mean, saying this isn't taking a strong stance against Trump here is not an anti-American thing. It is something that is really in the interest of the world, global security, and the economy as a whole.
The head of Greenland's government said that it must be ready for the U.S. to resort to military force. I mean, how might Greenland be preparing? It doesn't, after all, have its own military.
No, it doesn't, and it's a very small. But despite being the largest island in the world, it's quite small in terms of overall population. I mean, people are stocking up on supplies. I could see there'd be general strikes and various forms of non-cooperation, forms of nonviolent resistance. But if there's going to be any kind of defense of Greenland, it obviously would have to come from Denmark and other NATO countries.
All right, well, we appreciate your perspective. Always great to have you on. Stephen Zunes from the University of San Francisco. Thank you for the time.